Hmm. So I've been wanting to read this birth chart for quite some time. All right. Thomas Waring. He had a cancer stellium. And immediately I thought to myself, wow, he must have been super moody and just super intuitive. He had Mercury, Sun, Mars, and Pluto on Cancer. Bossy. And also pretty impatient. I would also like to say that my grandfather was born during the Roaring Twenties. I'm not going to put his birthday on because, hackers. So that just puts things into perspective where a Black man was in the 1920s and what he was growing around with. Let me see. I think I wrote down some notes about what was going on. Okay. So he was born in 1923. What was going on in 1923? It was the Roaring Twenties, the Rosewood Massacre. KKK was doing its thing. But the Cotton Club opened up in Harlem, which is where Dorothy Dandridge and Sammy Davis Jr. had some of their early beginnings. And during this time period, this is one of my favorite inventors, Garrett T. Morgan, patented the traffic light. He sold that to General Electric for 40 G's. Unbelievable. So that was an idea of what was going on in the 1920s. So when we think about Cancer, we think about the nurturer, someone who's very family oriented. Because they are the first water sign, they're very new in their emotions. Um, Cancer is also a cardinal sign. They are the initiator. It may not seem so. It may seem like you have to, give them a little sign for something to start, but they do like to initiate. They feel better when they initiate. However ways that sidewalk comes into play. My grandfather probably had a lot of female friends too, this Cancer stellium. He's probably also very good at making money and keeping money. Everything he did was emotionally driven. Could have been egotistical, yes. But there's something about someone with a Cancer stellium, particularly my grandfather, what they bring into fruition has a lasting impact on the masses. He's probably very sneaky as well, very strong work ethic, and he has interesting tactics. Never mind the sideways walk that Cancers do. Very interesting tactics of getting what he wanted. He also had a Venus in Gemini. I wonder what my grandmother went through. They were still married at the time of his passing, and I don't know when they got married. That'd probably be very interesting tidbit to know. Oh, my hair is scratching. Interesting. Friends and lovers, lovers and friends. Venus and Gemini is all about the good times, all about having relationships be fun, sporadic. They're very curious people in any kind of connections they have with people. They're very curious about them. They're very inquisitive. Doesn't have the longest attention span, but whatever. You gotta get him while the getting's hot, right? There's a duality to him. It's a very unpredictable man. Very risky, not really into routines, liked unpredictability, had a very wide range of circle, especially with all this Cancer energy, knowing how to have an emotional investment in people and getting that emotional investment back from people. Mixed with the Venus and Gemini, he casted a very wide net, let's say. Very trickster. I mean, did I mention games? My grandfather was also married to a Sagittarius, so maybe there's a connection, possibly, with that opposite sign, seeing her as someone who was on the go. So obviously, you know now that my grandmother was a Sagittarius sun woman, and my grandfather was a Cancer man. One of the most hidden pairings in astrology. I don't get it. But hey, if it works for you, right? Very exciting. He probably had a very like lust for life that my grandmother was attracted to. He also had Sun trine Uranus. Now, when you look at the birth chart of your ancestors and then look at your birth chart, you're going to see similarities here. Um, Particularly with the Sun trine Uranus. I have a Uranus stellium. I have Sun conjunct Uranus, Moon conjunct Uranus, Mercury conjunct Uranus in the fifth house. I don't know his time of birth, so I don't know a lot of his house placements, which is like, it kills me inside. But it's funny how aspects will transfer throughout generations. So Sun trine Uranus, there is just no stopping this kind of forward movement. This person is all into setting their own path, beating their own drum, hate being told to do. They're going to put up a fight if you try to control them in some way. Very forward thinking, very unique people. And if I think about myself, I'm like, wow, I wonder, and I am a woman, I wonder how innovative my grandfather was, considering this is a man's world. Where did he take his innovativeness? You know, like how much has that transferred down to me? He's a very unconventional person with Sun trine Uranus. This is easy energy to be psychic, very inspirational. People probably came to him with their problems. Doesn't surprise me with the Cancer stellium. And he probably had a very interesting way of dressing, a very different style of dressing. The usual, likes to question authority. It's got no time for the popo or anything even related to white supremacy. Again, I say that because of the time that he was born in and grew up in. He passed away some time ago, but you have to think about the context of where this person was. Like, was he into the freedom fight? I could probably see that, but then he made sure he got home at night because he had a family to take care of. It was very interesting how he combined those elements, how he made it work for him. Because I know when growing up around him, I never felt unsafe in his neighborhood. Like I always felt like he put it down. Like he always had a great atmosphere for his grandchildren. Sun conjunct Pluto. Oh my goodness. I am a Scorpio moon. So I'm just saying, how the aspects are a little bit generational, man. Powerful person. Definitely had a presence about him. He's very tall too. And he commanded attention when he walked into a room. It was almost like he set the intensity of the room when he came in. Very intimidating person, very passionate. He's probably very possessive of my grandmother. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a way that he was very territorial of her, was very protective of her, particularly with all this Cancer energy, this Pluto energy. His family was it for him. And, he probably went through a lot of cycles where he'd kill off his ego only to build an even stronger one. There's always something going on, a cycle. Probably like to set a lot of goals, probably very goal oriented. He was also a water pig, and pigs are known to also bring in that change, girl. Very good with money, pigs. Very good with security and wealth. So Cancer with the pig, he looked out for his generation, for me to come. He lacked a lot of fire and earth in his chart. It was very feminine, so I'm pretty sure he had a lot of female friends. Was possibly a lot of love letters written to women. Very tenacious. Uh, Probably like to have vices of some sort, whatever that is, drinking, smoking, whatever they did back in that time. Very intuitive. Like he was into, new things, but he always had to watch out who he was around because he'd absorb the emotions of his surroundings, and it didn't always go that well. He also had like a lot of aspects to Pluto. He also had Mercury conjunct Pluto. I also had Mercury conjunct Pluto. He's probably the type that doesn't like to talk, even though I'm on YouTube right now to talk. But it doesn't mean talk. I mean, there has to be a purpose to the language. Just can't be breathing air. He'd probably like to lurk more than he'd like to talk. And there's always going to be a reason when he opens up his mouth. You know what I'm saying? Again, we saw this Aquarian energy, probably a very good disdain for authority. Very, very good at reading behind the lines. Have the usual doubts with paranoia. But just thinking about the time that he was born in, I mean, paranoia was probably justified and probably saved them a lot of the times. Very observational, intense in his speaking. He probably knew who to stay away from or who to go towards. I've been feeling like people enjoy being around my grandfather. And if you can hear, there's like a helicopter swirling me right now. And I feel like people swirled him. Like he was very great energy to be around. And people flocked to him and attracted people to him. It was brilliant. He also had the visionary aspect of Jupiter in conjunction to Pluto. A lot of people have this aspect. These are people who create lands out of lands. I'll do another recording on that. It's a very interesting placement, especially if you have it in your chart. This is someone who is into big ideas. Jupiter is the expansive planet, so it's going to expand happily with the trine to the intense planet. Expand the intensity of whatever he puts his goals toward. So he may have a lot of taboo, big ideas that he wanted to push. He was probably very creative. Without knowing the house plates, I just don't know where he was creative. But he was brilliant. He was a visionary, and I feel like he was into astrology. I feel like he knew his chart. Yes, yes. He was also a smoker. Yes, he smoked Lucky Strikes, no filter. Luck and transformation. Even though he was saddled to an oxygen tank, it didn't stop him. The Venus and Gemini was on the go. Man, he would go on cruises with that tank. It did not stop him. He also had Sun trine Jupiter, this lucky son of a bitch. I mean, gosh. Luck probably traveled with him in everything he did. He lived to see a very, very old age. He did. My grandfather was very well liked with his friends. Um, I also remember him having very strong beliefs, and that's true with the Sun Jupiter. You stand up for your ego is tied to where you place your faith in. People with Sunshine Jupiter also have an infectious laugh. I mean, that's just Sagittarius off the bat. They always laugh, a very hearty laugh, like a horse. You can always spot a Sagittarius by how they laugh. Just pay attention. Make the room laugh and then see who laughs the most obnoxiously. Sagittarius. So you probably had like a laugh like that. That's cool. He's probably like a jokester too. And it just with the Venus and Gemini, I'm just like, wow, like what did my grandmother go through with this character? He did have a catchphrase, and a lot of Sagittarian energy has catchphrases. He did. He was a very magnetic, animated person. You knew you were stepping into the presence of my grandfather when he was alive. You knew. So those that would be, if I think about his top five, moody, psychic, borderline homebody, not sure, likable and very intense. Here's a sixth one just because I'm in a good mood. Lucky, lucky, lucky. So let's talk about some challenging aspects, right? Sun square Saturn. Ooh, he did have a disdain for authority, particularly the men, other men in his life, with Saturn representing the men and the square, well, Saturn and the sun representing the man. So your sun is your ego and your square is square peg round hole, you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't fit. So any kind of masculine energy that came up to him was going to be dealt with pretty strategically with that Cancer stellium. Saturn also rules the body for me. When they say Virgo do, but Cancers kind of really rule the body for me. And I say that because if you have Sun square Saturn, you may not take care of yourself the way you should be, which is probably didn't give a hoot about smoking. So let me just go through my placements real quick, and then I'll just summarize his real quick. So yes, I have Sun conjunct Uranus, Moon conjunct Uranus, Mercury conjunct Uranus. He has Sun trine Uranus. He's a Cancer stellium. He has Mercury, Sun, Mars, and Pluto all in Cancer. I have quite a bit of water planets in my chart, particularly a Cancer rising and a Scorpio moon and Mercury in Scorpio. He also has Mercury conjunct Pluto, which is akin to Scorpio Mercury. Wow, this guy was definitely into new things. Wow. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a big weirdo who's into astrology. So if you want your birth chart read live, let me know and I'll read it live for you on my channel. And you can learn a little bit more about you. Let me know what part you want me to focus on. Like I said, if you have your birth date, birth time is so much more fun. But if you don't have it, it's cool. You can still come anyway. Yeah, and we'll just have fun reading your birth chart live, everybody. All right, have a good day. Bye.